Welcome. This time for Adam Answers, I'm going to go to Facebook. And there's a comment from Kim Madden on a Facebook post. And she says, this is a tricky question. And she says, I'm wondering, how can we most usefully show enthusiasm and our hope for our clients? And so this is such an interesting, phenomenal question, because in essence, what Kim is asking about is, what's our role as therapists? And I think oftentimes we think about, like, how do we get our clients to blank? Or what's the right question to ask blank? And in some sense, she's asking, how do we convey hope? How do we convey enthusiasm for our clients and for their process? And I think this is a really, really valuable question, and I want to kind of pull it apart into two pieces. The first part I want to hold on to is hope, and then the next part of what I'll talk about is the enthusiasm part. And so how do we express hope for our clients? I think we do this in a couple of ways, and solution-focused brief therapy is a language-based approach. So we have to, if we're going to convey hope, we have to convey hope through our language. And we can do, so I want to focus on a couple of linguistic tools that we have that can help us to convey this. The first one is formulations. Formulations are, it provides a summary, or it gives the person a gist of what they said, right? So sometimes our clients will talk and they'll give us a whole paragraph, and then we have to summarize it in some way to convey, I understood what you said. In formulations, it gives us a choice, right? We can choose which words we want to include in that summary. We can include specific words and we can leave other words out. And so the words that we want to pick up, solution-focused brief therapy is all about utilizing the client's language. So this means we have to listen so carefully so that we can decipher which words are consistent with the best hopes and which words are inconsistent with the best hopes, right? And that in and of itself conveys hope, right? I say to my clients, you told me at the beginning of the session, this is my best hopes. And so we pick up words that are consistent and we put those into formulations. And we say, let's say, for example, the client says, my best hopes is to be courageous and more confident, right? And so then we can say to our clients, what would be different about you? What would you notice? What would be the first thing that you notice that would let you know that courage and confidence had entered into your life? Linking our questions back to the best hopes begins that process of best hopes. And if they talk for a while and they say, maybe I would be more self-assured and I would go out and do things instead of worrying about what other people had to think or say about me. Maybe I would feel like I could, get on with some important decisions that I needed to, that I've kind of been waffling about. We can put those words that are consistent with hope into a formulation, and we can say, so when you stop caring, when you feel more self-assured, and when you feel like you are self-assured enough that you can make just the right decision for you, what would be the first sign that would let you know that you now have this level of self-assurance, right? So we formulate, you have self-assurance, you have confidence, you have an awareness, an ability to make decisions. And as we put those words into our formulation, we feed hope into the conversation. So I think the first thing we do with hope is use formulations that are consistent with their desired outcome. A second linguistic tool that we have is presuppositions, right? We can presuppose that hope is present, and we do that with infusing really important words, like, what would be the very first thing you would notice that would let you know that you have confidence and self-assurance? Who else would pay attention and catch self-assurance is now a part of what this person has within them? What would be the very best thing that you would find yourself doing on a day when you had confidence, or when your self-assurance was exactly where you wanted it to be, right? Those words like the first thing you would notice, the best thing that you would do, the most important person who would notice. Those words presuppose difference, presuppose change, presuppose hope. So not only can we ask, or can we formulate things, but we can presuppose things, and each of those should be connected to hope. So we show hope for our clients by the questions that we ask. The second part about enthusiasm, how do we show enthusiasm for our clients? This one I'm going to take and I'm going to say, I'm not quite sure this is actually our job to show enthusiasm. It's our client's job to become enthusiastic about what's important to them. It's our job to simply ask questions that are consistent with the desired outcome. So what we can show in our questions is interest. We can show trust. We can show belief. We can show confidence. But I don't think that we have to do that in an enthusiastic way. We don't have to be like, oh my gosh, you are amazing. Of course you can do that. We don't have to be enthusiastic. And sometimes enthusiasm may not actually even be the right emotion for the situation. If someone is dealing with something really difficult or challenging or hard, perhaps they have a terminal illness, or perhaps they've just lost a loved one, or perhaps they've experienced a significant trauma, enthusiasm might not be the most appropriate emotion, right? Perhaps in our questions we need to convey understanding. Perhaps in our questions we need to convey compassion. Perhaps in our questions, but I think, sorry, I stopped mid-sentence, but I think it goes back to those words that I used before. We need to convey trust. We need to convey belief. We need to convey confidence in them. So I'm not sure that enthusiasm is always the best thing, but I can see that enthusiasm is often linked with hope. And so I think that as we convey hope, we convey belief. One of the things that might be a byproduct of that is enthusiasm. And if you become enthusiastic, great, be enthusiastic. But what I really want to convey is we should convey who we are, and we should convey what's appropriate for this particular situation. And so I think if enthusiasm is right for you, if enthusiasm is right for this situation, convey enthusiasm in a very natural way. But if it's not, if it's compassion that's needed, convey compassion. But we should always convey something that's natural to us and something that's consistent with the context within which we're working. So I hope that helps. I hope that that helps with how do you convey hope and how do you convey an emotion or a sense of who you are in the questions that you ask.